Imagine getting lost with your whole family in a desert. Not a normal desert, but one of the hottest places on Earth. No food, no water, and no source of communication. Every direction looks the same. Every step takes you deeper into danger. This actually happened to a German tourist family in 1996 in Death Valley, California. They entered the desert and never came back alive. They simply vanished without a trace. And what followed became one of the most disturbing and mysterious search cases in modern history. A case that would take years to understand and reveal how quickly nature can turn against human survival. This is the story of the Death Valley Germans. A family of four, 34-year-old architect Egbert Rimkus, his 27-year-old girlfriend Cornelia Meyer, Egbert's 11-year-old son Georg Weber, and Cornelia's 4-year-old son Max Meyer, set out on what was meant to be the trip of a lifetime. They were tourists from Germany, traveling across America, exploring new cities, new cultures, and collecting memories along the way. The journey was filled with laughter, photos, and unforgettable moments. State after state, city after city, everything felt like a dream. After visiting multiple parts of the United States, they finally reached California. At this point, they decided to visit Death Valley National Park, a place known for its extreme beauty, but also extreme danger. One of the most hostile environments on Earth. Massive heat, endless desert, and landscapes that can easily mislead even experienced travelers. Warning signs were clearly there, advising visitors to stay on safe routes and avoid remote areas. But the family saw it differently. To them, it felt like a thrilling adventure, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So they made a decision that seemed small at the time. They took a route through a remote desert backroad. And that one decision changed everything. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Tourists entered Death Valley every day, and among them was the German family, driving their green rental van deeper into the desert. Witnesses later reported seeing them buying supplies and fuel before entering the national park. They looked normal, relaxed, completely unaware of what was waiting for them ahead. Somewhere along the journey, the family left the safety of the main paved road and turned onto a remote backcountry trail, a road rarely used by tourists, a road surrounded by endless silence. At first, it probably felt exciting, an adventure far away from crowds. But Death Valley has a dangerous way of tricking people. The deeper you go, the harder it becomes to turn back. Road signs disappear, the heat becomes unbearable, and every direction starts looking exactly the same. Investigators believe the family became lost while trying to navigate the isolated desert roads. Their rented van was not built for that terrain. Sharp rocks, deep sand, and extreme heat slowly destroyed the vehicle. And somewhere out there, far from help, the family realized something terrifying. They were completely alone. No signal, no nearby travelers, no way to call for help. Just miles of burning desert in every direction. And that was the last time anyone would ever see them alive. Experts later likely happened. The family took a wrong turn on the unmaintained road, or slowed down in deep, attempted to walk for help. But this was the worst possible decision. In Death Valley, walking even a few kilometers can be deadly. Heat exhaustion can set in within hours. Landmarks are deceptive. Everything looks the same. Without water, survival time drops drastically. And this is where the desert began to erase them. When the family failed to arrive at their destination, concern quickly grew. Authorities launched a massive search effort involving rangers, local law enforcement, helicopters, ground teams. But Death Valley is enormous, over 3 million acres of harsh terrain. Search teams faced extreme heat, dangerous, limited visibility, vast empty spaces with no clues. At first, nothing was found. No car, no footprints, no signs of struggle. It was as if they had disappeared into the earth itself. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. No sign of the family, no phone call, no prints, nothing. Then, finally, on October 21st, 1996, years after a park ranger flying over a remote canyon spotted something unusual deep in the desert. It was the family's green rental van, abandoned, miles away from any normal tourist route. The vehicle was badly damaged. 3 tires were completely destroyed, and investigators later discovered the van had been driven for miles on bare metal rims. But the most disturbing part was this: the family was nowhere to be found. Years passed, and for a long time, the mystery of the German family remained unsolved. Many believed the desert had erased every trace of them forever. But then, everything changed. In 2009, a man exploring a remote area of Death Valley made a horrifying discovery. Scattered across the harsh desert ground were what appeared to be human remains. Realizing the seriousness of what he had found, he immediately contacted authorities. Investigators quickly arrived at the scene and launched a full investigation. As they examined the area, the truth slowly became clear. The remains were connected to the missing German family who had vanished years earlier. What shocked investigators even more was the location. The remains were discovered miles away from the family's abandoned van. But the discovery raised an even darker question. What exactly went there in the desert? Investigators later pieced together the family's final movements using the location of the van, the remains, and the dangerous terrain surrounding the area. And slowly, a tragic picture began to emerge. It appeared the family had unknowingly driven deep into isolated back roads far away from normal tourist routes. The deeper they traveled, the more difficult the terrain became. Their rented van was never designed for those harsh desert roads. Sharp rocks and extreme conditions damaged the vehicle badly. Eventually, the family became stranded, and in the brutal heat of Death Valley, every minute without help became. Experts believe the family then made a desperate attempt to escape on, but this was one of the worst environments imaginable for survival. The summer heat was extreme, water sources were absent, and the desert itself created dangerous. Mountains looked closer than they really. Roads led nowhere. Every direction felt. As dehydration and exhaustion increased, think clearly would have slowly disappeared. Investigators found no evidence of foul play, no attack, only the terrifying power of nature. In the end, it wasn't a criminal or a hidden enemy that took their lives. It was the desert itself. The Death Valley Germans case is not just a mystery. It is a warning, a reminder that nature is not predictable. Maps don't always show danger, and survival depends on preparation, not luck. Filled the desert with curiosity. But the desert does not care about curiosity, only survival. You think happened in those final hours? Could they have been saved with better preparation? Or was this outcome inevitable from the moment they turned off the main road? And if you want more true survival mysteries like this, subscribe, because the world is full of stories that were never meant to be forgotten.
How does a 21-year-old girl end up dead and rotting in a sealed water tank? Not in a bathtub, not a lake, in a metal tank on the roof. A tank she couldn't climb. A tank she couldn't open. Locked for 3 weeks while her body decomposed. Everyone thinks they understand the Elisa Lam case, but most videos miss the most details because at the evidence, history does more. Today, we're uncovering facts and theories that are rarely discussed, and some of them are more disturbing than the elevator footage itself. But first, let us quickly look at the story for those who are hearing about it for the first time. Welcome to Beneath the Dark. Step into the world of unsolved mysteries and crime. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada. She was traveling alone across California, a solo trip. Bright, creative, and full of life, she documented everything on her Tumblr blog. On January 26, 2013, she checked into the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a hotel with one of the darkest histories in America. Serial killers had stayed here. Multiple deaths had occurred within its walls. 5 days later, she vanished. Police begin searching the hotel. Then they find it, the elevator footage, and nothing could prepare them for what they saw. Elisa is seen entering the elevator, pressing multiple buttons. Then she steps out and looks both ways down the hallway, as if she is hiding from someone. She steps back in, steps back out. Then, she begins moving her hands, slowly, strangely, as if she is talking to someone who isn't there. The elevator doors, which should have closed by now, stay open, like something is holding them. Then Elisa walks away, peers from the frame. Forever. Her body was found 19 days later, inside a rooftop water tank. The official verdict? Accidental drowning. But nothing about the... Nothing. Now let us go through the facts, one by one, that most... Elisa was extremely close to her family. She called her parents in Canada every single day during her trip. Every single day. Until January 31st. Call. When her parents reported her missing, investigators searched her room. What they found was shocking. Her computer, all her clothes, her wallet, and her medication. Everything was still in the room. She had not packed. She had not planned to leave. So where did she go? Here is something most people do not know. Elisa was not always in a private room. She was originally booked in a shared hostel-style room with other guests. But within just 3 days, her roommates complained to hotel management about her odd behavior. We do not know exactly what she did. The hotel never revealed the details. But it was serious enough that management moved her into a private room, alone. This was also the last day any hotel worker saw her alive. On January 31st, the day she disappeared, Elisa visited the last bookstore, just a few blocks from the Cecil Hotel. The store manager, Katie Orphan, spoke to CNN about this visit. She described Elisa as outgoing, lively, and completely friendly. She was buying gifts for her family back home, talking about which books would be too heavy to carry. She seemed perfectly normal, happy even. So what happened between that bookstore visit and the elevator footage just hours later? After Elisa disappeared, investigators did something very important. They checked every single in the Cecil Hotel. And what they found, or rather what they did not find, is one of the most disturbing facts in this entire case. Elisa Lam never left the hotel. Not once. The lobby cameras show she never walked out through the front door, which means whatever happened to her happened inside the Cecil Hotel. Police brought in scent tracking dogs to follow the trail inside the hotel. The dogs picked up her scent and followed it, all the way up to the 5th floor where her room was. Then they followed the trail further, to a window. A window with a fire escape leading to the roof. And right there, at that window, the scent completely disappeared. Just gone. How does a scent simply vanish at a fire escape window? Now here is where it gets even more suspicious. The Cecil Hotel had security cameras, but not on every floor. And the floor where Elisa was staying? No camera. Not a single one. The only camera that captured her that night was the elevator camera. Was this a coincidence? Or did someone know exactly where the cameras were and where they were not? The hotel security guards had master keys, keys that opened every door in the hotel, including the roof access door. And at their security desk, they had live monitors showing feeds from multiple cameras, including the elevator camera. This means someone could have been watching the elevator in real time as it was happening.
Now that you know the facts, let us talk about the theories.
Theory number 1, bipolar episode. Elisa suffered from bipolar disorder. Her medications were found in her room. Some doctors believe she experienced a severe episode that night, which explains her strange behavior in the elevator. But it does not explain how she ended up in a locked water tank. Theory number 2, the timestamp. When police released the elevator footage, sharp-eyed viewers noticed something. The timestamp had been edited. Minutes were missing. Why would police remove parts of the footage? What were they hiding? Theory number 3, the TB connection. Shortly after Elisa's death, a tuberculosis outbreak occurred near the Cecil Hotel. The name of the TB test used? LAM-ELISA, the exact same name as the victim. Coincidence? Many people don't think so. Theory number 4, the tank mystery. Engineers who studied the case say it is physically impossible for one person to climb into that tank and lock it from the inside, which means either someone helped her or someone put her there. Theory number 5, security guard involvement. Remember, security guards could see the elevator camera live. They had roof access keys. If someone wanted to follow Elisa without being caught on camera, a hotel employee would know exactly how to do it. Which floors had no cameras? Which stairwells were blind spots? This theory has never been officially investigated. Now let us talk about what I believe really happened. Official verdict says accidental drowning. But with a locked tank? A missing timestamp? A TB outbreak with her exact name? And movements in that elevator that no one can explain. Can we really call this an accident? I personally believe that there is something deeply wrong with the official story. Something that the Cecil Hotel, and maybe even the police, do not want us to know. But that's just my theory. What do you think happened to Elisa Lam that night? Tell me in the comments below. If this case gave you chills, you are not alone. Subscribe for more true crime cases that will keep you up at night.
The man whose badge was supposed to protect you became the reason you never made it home. This is what happened to Kara Knott. It was the evening of December 27th, 1986. 20-year-old Kara Knott was driving home from her boyfriend's house in Escondido, heading to her parents' place in El Cajon. She was a college student at San Diego State University, smart, cautious, the kind of person who followed the rules. She stopped briefly at a gas station to fill up, then continued south on Interstate 15. As she drove, she noticed a marked California Highway Patrol car behind her, signaling her to pull over. Kara didn't panic. Why would she? This was a police officer. She did exactly what she was taught to do. She pulled over like any responsible citizen would. The officer's name was Craig Payer, 13 years on the force. A badge, a uniform, a patrol car. Every symbol of safety Kara had ever been taught to trust. She had no way of knowing this stop would be her last. Instead of stopping on the open freeway, Payer directed Kara to exit at Mercy Road, a dead-end, isolated off-ramp, far from traffic, far from witnesses. It wasn't the first time. Over the past 6 months, Payer had pulled over more than 24 women along this same stretch of highway and directed almost all of them to this exact same dark road. even when it meant they had to reverse against freeway traffic just to reach it. With men, his stops lasted minutes. With young women, they stretched past 30 minutes, sometimes closer to 2 hours. Long, personal conversations that had nothing to do with traffic violations. And here's the part that makes this worse. People had already tried to warn the department. A month before Kara's murder, a man named Perry Kurtz called CHP to report Payer's strange behavior at that exact off-ramp. He wasn't the only one. But Payer had a good reputation within the department, and the complaints were dismissed. Nobody connected the pattern. Nobody pulled him off the road. And 3 weeks later, Kara Knott took that same exit. Quick question. If a police officer pulled and told you to drive isolated road, or would you call first? Let me know in the comments. 3 weeks after those warnings went nowhere, it was Kara's turn to take that exit. When the stop turned personal and she grew uncomfortable, prosecutors say she tried to get away. Payer struck her, wrapped a rope around her neck, and strangled her. Then he carried her body to a nearby bridge and threw her into a ravine 65 feet below. He returned to his patrol car and sped off, trying to build an alibi for the night. Kara never came home. Her family tried searching the freeways themselves that night, but police wouldn't take a missing person report yet. She hadn't been gone long enough. The next day, her abandoned Volkswagen was found near Mercy Road. Her body lay after, at the bottom of the ravine. 2 days after the murder that still feels unreal, news station interviewed Craig Payer, the very man who killed her, for a segment on how women could protect themselves while driving alone. On camera, scratches were visible on his face. He claimed he'd fallen against a fence in the CHP parking lot. Haters checked. The fence was too that story to hold up. After the broadcast aired, nearly 24 women called the police. Each same story. A CHP officer had pulled them over at that before, some describing conversations that are too long, far too personal. An internal investigation confirmed what the pattern already showed. Most of the women Payer stopped were driving alone, and almost all of them matched Kara's age and general appearance. Piece by piece, the evidence built itself. A gas station attendant remembered seeing Kara that night and remembered a CHP car making a U-turn on the road just after she drove away. Witnesses at another gas station recalled Payer arriving that same night, disheveled, driving in at high speed. A gold-colored fiber found on Kara's dress matched the shoulder patch on Payer's uniform, made from an unusual pigment rather than a standard dye. A rope in his patrol car matched the marks around her neck, according to a forensic dentist who examined it. A drop of blood on one of Kara's boots matched Payer's rare blood type. And his own patrol logbook had been quietly altered. The timeline for that night didn't add up. The first trial ended in a hung jury. 7 jurors believed he was guilty, 5 didn't. It wasn't enough for a conviction, and Payer walked free, at least for a little longer. At the retrial, prosecutors sharpened their case, including testimony about a second possible suspect, and an alternate explanation for Payer's scratches was ruled inadmissible, narrowing the story the defense could tell. This time, the jury reached a verdict: guilty of murder. On August 4, 1988, Craig Payer, a former 13-year veteran of the California Highway Patrol, was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. For Kara's family, the conviction didn't end the pain. It began a different kind of fight. Her father, Sam Knott, couldn't undo what happened to his daughter, but he refused to let her death mean nothing. Because police wouldn't take a missing person report the night Kara disappeared, her family had lost hours that might have mattered. Sam spent years pushing for change, and because of him, California eliminated the 48-hour waiting period that once forced families of missing adults to wait before filing a report. Those close to the case say Sam Knott never stopped grieving. He passed away years later, reportedly at the very overlook near where his daughter's body had been found. Craig Pyre is still in prison today. He was asked years later to voluntarily provide a DNA sample for a program designed to help exonerate the wrongfully convicted. He refused, and refused to explain why. The parole board has denied his release multiple times, citing his lack of remorse. His next hearing isn't scheduled until 2027. A badge is supposed to mean safety. For Kara Knott, it meant a death sentence. Complaints, warnings were ignored, and it still wasn't enough to stop him before it was too late. Craig Pyre has been denied parole multiple times. Do you think someone who abuses the power of a police badge to commit murder should ever be released? Tell me why in the comments. Imagine returning home after a sleepover, opening the door, and finding your entire family brutally murdered inside. But what shocked investigators even more was that 3 children sleeping just a few feet away survived the entire massacre, and 1 young girl had vanished without a trace. This is the horrifying true story of the Cabin 28 murders, one of America's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. In April of 1981, the quiet mountain town of Keddie, California was known as a peaceful vacation destination. Families came here to escape city life. Small wooden cabins sat among the trees. Everyone knew everyone. Nothing ever seemed to happen here. But on the night of April 11th, 1981, that peace would be shattered forever. And what happened inside Cabin 28 would become one of the most infamous unsolved murder cases in American history. Living inside Cabin 28 was 36-year-old Sue Sharp. She had recently moved to Keddie with her 5 children after separating from her husband. The family wasn't wealthy, but they were trying to start a new life. Living with Sue were her children, John, age 15, Sheila, age 14, Tina, age 12, Rick, age 10, and Greg, age 5. The family had only been in Keddie for a few months, but they were slowly adjusting to their new home. On April 11, 1981, the evening seemed completely normal. Sheila was spending the night at a friend's cabin nearby. John and his friend Dana Wingate had gone into town earlier that day. Meanwhile, Sue stayed home with Tina, Rick, Greg, and a family friend named Justin. As darkness covered the small resort town, nobody knew they were only hours away from unimaginable horror. Around 10 p.m., Tina returned home after visiting neighbors. John and Dana later came back to the cabin. Everything appeared normal. But sometime hours, someone entered the gate. The next morning, 14-year-old Sheila returned home. As she approached Cabin 28, nothing seemed unusual. But the moment she stepped inside, she was confronted with a scene straight out of a nightmare. Bodies were lying in the living room. Blood covered the floor. Furniture had been overturned. The room looked like a violent struggle. Terrified, Sheila ran screaming to a neighboring cabin for help. When authorities arrived, bodies of Sue Sharp, her son John, and John's friend Dana Wingate. All 3 had been brutally murdered. The attack had been savage. Investigators found evidence of stabbing, blunt force trauma, and strangulation. But that wasn't the part. 12-year-old Tina Sharp was missing. She was nowhere inside the cabin. As investigators searched the crime scene, they made an unbelievable discovery. Inside a nearby bedroom, Rick, Greg, and their friend Justin were still alive, completely unharmed. According to reports, the children had slept through the entire attack, despite the violence happening only feet away. They claimed they heard nothing, no screams, no struggle, nothing. To this day, many that detail difficult to understand. While investigators processed the crime scene, a massive search began for Tina Sharp. At first, authorities hoped she had escaped. Maybe she had run into the woods. Maybe she had been hiding somewhere nearby. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, there was still no sign of her. Tina had... The mystery only grew. Investigators quickly focused on several people connected to the family. Two names repeatedly surfaced: Martin Marty Smart and his friend John Bowie. The pair lived close to Cabin 28. Both men reportedly attracted suspicion early in the investigation. Witness statements, conflicting stories, and other circumstances caused detectives to look closely at them. Yet, despite being questioned, neither man was ever charged. Over the years, rumors spread throughout Keddie. Some people believed investigators knew exactly who was responsible. Others believed the case had been mishandled from the very beginning, and many suspected a cover-up. One reason the case remains so controversial is because of mistakes made during the investigation. The crime scene was reportedly contaminated. Evidence wasn't properly preserved. Important leads were allegedly overlooked, and several potential clues disappeared over time. As years passed, many true crime researchers began arguing that the murders might have been solved if the original investigation had been handled differently. Then, 3 years later, the case took an even darker turn. In 1984, human remains were discovered roughly 30 miles away from Keddie. The remains belonged to Tina Sharp, the missing 12-year-old girl. Investigators had finally found her, but they still had no answers. Who took her? Why was she removed from the cabin? And what happened after she disappeared that night? Those questions remain unanswered. Decades later, the case was reopened. Investigators re-examined old evidence using modern forensic techniques. New discoveries reignited public interest. A previously overlooked recording, old reports, and physical evidence that had been forgotten for years. Many believed the truth was finally getting closer. But despite renewed efforts, no arrests were ever made. Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some believe the murders were personal. Others think Tina may have been the intended target. Some suspect multiple killers were involved. And many continue to focus on the primary suspects questioned in 1981. But without enough evidence, no theory has ever been proven. More than 4 decades have passed since the horrors of Cabin 28. The cabin itself no longer exists. It was eventually demolished. But the mystery remains. A mother, 3 children, a family destroyed, a missing girl found years later, and a case that still has no official solution. Some believe investigators already know who did it. Others think the truth was buried long ago. But until someone finally comes forward, the terrifying events inside Cabin 28 will remain one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries in true crime history. What do you think really happened inside Cabin 28? And after all these years, could the killer still be hiding in plain sight?
He fed their animals and ate their food after killing an entire family. The killers stayed inside their house like nothing had happened. And when police arrived, they believed the case was finally solved. But they were wrong. In the quiet countryside of Germany stood a remote farmhouse known as Hinterkaifeck. Far from neighbors, surrounded by isolation, a place where silence was normal. But in March 1922, that silence turned into something far more disturbing. Welcome to Beneath the Dark, Subscribe for more mysteries lurking in the shadows. The Hinterkaifeck farm was home to a small, isolated family. At the center was Andreas Gruber, a 63-year-old farmer, a strict, private man who spent his life working the land. Living with him was his wife, Kazelia Gruber, around 72 years old, who helped manage the home and daily routines. Their daughter, Victoria Gabriel, age 35, also lived there, along with her 2 children, 7-year-old Kazelia and 2-year-old Joseph. They lived a simple life. They worked on the farm, took care of animals, and stayed mostly within their quiet, isolated world. They had no known enemies and no reason to expect danger. Just a day before the incident, a new maid arrived at the farm. Her name was Maria Baumgartner. She had only just started working there, completely unaware of the strange events already unfolding inside the house. Neighbors later reported disturbing details that didn't make sense at the time. One of their neighbors, a man named Lorenz Schlittenbauer, told police something strange. He claimed that on multiple occasions he noticed fresh footprints in the snow, leading directly to the farmhouse. But the terrifying part was this: the footprints only went in one direction. They never came back out, as if someone had entered the farm and simply vanished inside it. Even more unsettling details followed during the investigation. Police later discovered a newspaper inside the farmhouse. But when they traced it back, there was no record of any delivery to that remote area. No vendor, no distribution route, nothing. The newspaper had simply appeared there. But the most disturbing reports came from the family themselves. They told neighbors about strange sounds coming from inside the house. Footsteps coming from the attic. At first, Andreas Gruber, the father, ignored it. He thought it was just a mouse, maybe a stray cat hiding in the roof. But the sounds didn't stop. They came again and again, each time clearer than before. Heavy footsteps, not animal-like, but human. One evening, after hearing it again, Andreas finally decided to check the attic himself. He climbed up slowly, step by step, listening carefully. The house was completely silent. He opened the attic door, and what he found made no sense at all. There was no one there, no movement, no hiding place, no explanation. Just empty space. As the days passed, the farmhouse began to change. Started with the animals. At night, they would suddenly become restless, making loud noises, jumping, kicking, as if something was disturbing them. Every time Andreas Gruber went to check, everything appeared normal. No intruder, no sign of forced entry. But the way the animals behaved, it felt like someone had been there. Soon after, other strange things began to happen. Andreas told his neighbors that his tools were going missing. Simple things, tools he used every day. He would go one place and later find them gone. Once, after searching for hours, he finally found one of his tools inside the barn. A place he clearly remembered not leaving it in. At first, it seemed like a small mistake. But then it happened again and again. Tools disappearing, then reappearing somewhere else. Almost like someone was using them, and back. Now, the feeling was impossible. Something or someone was moving around the farm. And yet, they didn't leave. Because that farm was their life, their only source of income, their only home. Leaving it behind wasn't an option. So despite everything, they stayed, not knowing they were no longer alone. Then came the night. Everything ended. The animals suddenly became restless again, louder than ever before, aggressive, panicked. Hearing this, Andreas Gruber rushed toward the barn, determined to finally catch whatever was behind it. When he didn't return, his wife Cecilia went after him. Time passed, but she didn't come back either. Inside the house, panic began to rise. Victoria knew something was wrong. She looked at her children. She didn't want to leave them alone. Before stepping out, she told her daughter, "Stay inside. Don't follow me." And then she walked into the darkness toward the barn. But she never came back. The silence inside the house became unbearable. Despite being told not to follow, the young girl couldn't stay inside any longer. In fear, she stepped outside and followed her mother. After that, complete silence. One by one, everyone who went to the barn never returned. But not everyone was killed in the barn. After the silence fell, the killer returned to the house. Inside, the youngest child, Joseph, was still there, helpless, alone. The killer approached him and killed him in his cradle. In another room, the new maid, Maria Baumgartner, was also inside the house. She had only just arrived and had no idea what had already happened outside. She too was killed. Both of them murdered inside the house with the same weapon. Days passed before anyone realized something was wrong. It wasn't until 4 days later, when concerned neighbors finally decided to check on the family, that the truth began to unfold. When police arrived at the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse, they expected to find a crime scene. But what they found was far more disturbing. The animals were still alive, not weak, not starving, but healthy. Fed, watered, as if someone had been taking care of them every single day. Inside the house, things only got worse. The kitchen showed clear signs of recent use. Food had been prepared, groceries were scattered, some freshly used. The stove had clearly been lit not long before. And then, one detail stood out above everything else. The bed of Andreas Gruber. It didn't look abandoned. It looked recently used, as if someone had slept there. That's when investigators realized something terrifying. After killing the entire family, the killer didn't run. He didn't escape. He stayed inside the farmhouse, living there, eating their food, using their space, moving freely as if nothing had happened, as if he belonged there. Police immediately began their investigation. As they examined the crime scene, one detail stood out: the murder weapon. It wasn't something brought from outside. It was a mattock, a heavy farming tool taken from the farm itself. That detail changed everything, because it meant one thing: the killer either knew the farm very well or had already been there before the murders. At first, police believed it could be a drifter, someone passing through, looking for shelter or opportunity. But that theory quickly fell apart. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken doors, no struggle at the entrance. It didn't look like someone had broken in. It looked like someone had been there, all along. Then suspicion shifted toward the neighbors. Maybe someone nearby, jealous, or holding a hidden grudge. One name that came up was Lorenz Schlittenbauer. He had connections to the family, and some believed he had personal reasons. But despite suspicion, there was never enough solid evidence. No proof placing him at the scene during the murders. No clear motive strong enough to confirm it. Just theories and unanswered questions. As the investigation continued, police were forced to consider something even more disturbing. What if it wasn't a stranger or a neighbor? What if it was someone from within the family itself? But this theory also had problems. All members of the family were found dead. There were no signs that anyone had survived, and no evidence suggested that one of them could have committed the murders and then lived alone in the house afterward. One by one, every theory collapsed. No forced entry, no confirmed suspect, no clear motive, just a farmhouse full of evidence that didn't make sense, and a killer who seemed to disappear without a trace. Police did everything they could to solve the case. Some of the best investigators were assigned to it. They examined every detail, every clue, every possible lead. But the more they looked, the less it made sense. It was like a puzzle with missing pieces. There was no solid proof, no clear suspect, no evidence strong enough to accuse anyone. A farmhouse filled with clues, yet none of them led anywhere. Even the most experienced investigators were left confused, helpless. And as time passed, the case slowly went cold. No arrest was ever confirmed. No identity was ever proven. Just one disturbing question remained. Who would kill an entire family and then stay inside their house afterward? Some crimes are solved by evidence, but this one was never solved at all. A mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
A young scientist, working on ideas most people can't even understand. Suddenly, she's gone. No clear answers, no detailed explanation, and then the internet starts whispering something chilling. That before her death, she may have sent a message saying, "I did not kill myself." But is that true? Or is this just another mystery created by the internet itself? Welcome to Beneath the Dark. This is the story of Amy Eskridge, a name you probably haven't heard before, but once you do, it's hard to forget. Because this isn't just a story about death. It's a story about uncertainty, speculation, and how quickly the truth can get lost. Amy Eskridge was an American engineer and researcher. From an early age, she showed a deep interest in science, the kind of curiosity that pushes people toward innovation. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't famous in the traditional sense. But in certain scientific communities, she was beginning to stand out. Her work focused on advanced propulsion concepts, ideas connected to the future of space travel, energy systems, and experimental physics. These aren't everyday topics. They're complex, they're ambitious, and sometimes they attract attention for the wrong reasons. Amy's research explored areas that many people would describe as cutting edge. Concepts that, if proven, could change how we think about movement, energy, even space exploration. Now, it's important to be clear here. There is no evidence that her work was secret, classified, or connected to any major government project. But the idea that she was working on something advanced was enough for the internet to build theories later on. Because when someone involved in complex science dies unexpectedly, people start asking questions. Before her death, Amy appeared in interviews and discussions where she talked about her research. In those conversations, she spoke about advanced propulsion, alternative approaches to energy, and the challenges of working in such a niche field. Her tone was calm, professional, focused on science. There was no confirmed statement from her suggesting fear, danger, or any kind of threat to her life. And that detail is important, because what came later tells a very different story. At some point, Amy Eskridge was reported dead. The details? Limited. The official explanation? Not widely or clearly available in public sources. And that lack of clear information created a gap that didn't stay empty for long. Soon after her death, posts started appearing online. Comments, threads, videos. People began connecting dots, even when there were no dots to connect. And then came the claim that before her death, Amy had sent a message to a friend, saying something disturbing. Some versions of the story say she wrote, "Someone is trying to kill me." Others go even further, "I did not kill myself." These lines spread fast. They were repeated again and again until they started to feel real. But here's the truth. There is no verified evidence that Amy Eskridge ever sent such messages. No official report, no confirmed screenshot, no reliable source. So what does that mean? It means we're left with two realistic possibilities. Either this claim was exaggerated or misreported and then amplified by the internet, or it was private communication that was never properly verified. In both cases, it cannot be treated as fact. So why do people still believe it? Because the story fits a pattern. A scientist, advanced research, sudden death, and missing details. Our minds naturally try to fill the gaps. We want answers, even if those answers aren't real. And once a powerful idea enters the internet, it spreads faster than the truth. Over time, the story evolved. What started as a simple report of a death turned into a full mystery. Some people began to suggest that her work might have made her a target. Others believed she knew something she wasn't supposed to know. But again, there is no solid evidence supporting these claims, just speculation.
Let's pause here and separate fact from fiction. Amy Eskridge was a real engineer and researcher. She worked on advanced concepts. She passed away under circumstances not widely detailed publicly. But there is no confirmed proof of threats. No verified "I did not kill myself" message. No official evidence of foul play. And that distinction matters.
So what really happened? Right now, we don't fully know, and maybe we never will. But sometimes, the mystery isn't in the event itself, it's in how the story is told after. How facts become theories, and theories start to feel like truth. Amy Eskridge's story is not just about science, or even about death. It's about uncertainty, about the space between what we know and what we think we know. And in that space, mysteries are born. Because in the end, the most dangerous stories aren't the ones with answers. They're the ones that leave us guessing. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon for more mysterious stories.
An elderly woman disappears without a trace. But what makes this case unusual is that it reportedly created tension between the local sheriff's office and the FBI, as both agencies started looking at the mystery from completely different angles. The case is about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, an elderly woman in her 80s and the mother of a famous TV show host. As most of the people already know about this case, as it is making headlines these days, let's take a short history for those who are hearing about it for the first time. She was reportedly last seen at her home in Tucson, Arizona, under mysterious circumstances. According to reports, there were unusual signs at the residence, including a sudden disruption in security systems and unclear evidence suggesting something serious had taken place. Soon after, disturbing details, like a masked suspect seen near the property, blamed technical failures around the time of her disappearance, added more confusion to the case. What makes this case even more concerning is the lack of clear answers even after an ongoing investigation, turning it into one of the most discussed and still unresolved in recent headlines. As the 100 days passed, the incident had already turned into a high-profile and widely followed mystery, and the most recent update suggested a major forensic development. Authorities reportedly recovered a hair strand belonging to an unknown individual from the scene, and decided to conduct advanced DNA testing in order to identify its origin. It was at this stage that confusion between the local sheriff's office and the FBI reportedly began. According to reports, the local sheriff's office preferred sending the DNA evidence to a forensic laboratory in Florida, while the FBI reportedly pushed for analysis through its own federal facility in Quantico. Interestingly, later reports suggested that both approaches may have ultimately been used in parallel, leading to a significant finding. The DNA profile did not match any known family members or regular visitors connected to the home. This development shifted the investigation into a more advanced phase, as authorities expanded efforts into genetic genealogy, attempting to trace possible relatives through specialized databases. Meanwhile, detectives continued reviewing surveillance footage, re-examining timelines, and following hundreds of incoming tips. Investigators are also still looking into the alleged ransom angle, though authorities have not confirmed any direct connection. Despite growing complexity, Sheriff Chris Nanos reportedly stated they are getting closer, and an arrest could happen soon. But even after 100 days, the case remains unsolved and has now become one of the most closely followed and mysterious investigations in recent memory. A case that started as a missing person report has now turned into a complex web of forensic questions, conflicting interpretations, and unanswered leads. With both federal and local agencies still working on it, the investigation continues to shift almost every day, and each new update seems to raise more questions than answers. For now, the search for Nancy Guthrie continues, and the hope remains the same, that one day she will be found safe and returned to her family. If you want to stay updated on this case and other dark mystery stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next update.
Imagine receiving a distress signal, not asking for help, but simply saying,
"All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead."
Then silence. And just when rescuers thought it couldn't get worse, one final message came through.
I die.
This is the terrifying mystery of the SS Orang Medan, a ship where every soul on board was found dead, without a single wound.
Welcome to Beneath the Dark.
It was sometime in 1947. Multiple ships sailing through the Strait of Malacca picked up a strange Morse code signal. The message was chilling. It claimed that the entire crew of a Dutch cargo ship, the SS Orang Medan, was already dead. Nearby vessels immediately changed course. One of them, the American ship Silver Star, arrived first. But what they found was beyond anything they expected. As rescuers boarded the Orang Medan, something felt wrong. There was no sound, no movement, just silence. Then they found the crew. Bodies were scattered across the deck, inside cabins, near the radio room. Every single person was dead. But here's the disturbing part. None of them had any visible injuries. Their faces were frozen in expressions of absolute terror. Eyes wide open, mouths stretched as if screaming. Some were even pointing at something that wasn't there anymore. Even the ship's dog was found dead, teeth bared, as if it died mid-growl. Investigators tried to piece together what happened. There were no signs of struggle, no damage to the ship, no indication of piracy or attack. The weather was calm. The sea was quiet. It was as if everyone on board had suddenly seen something so horrifying that it stopped their hearts instantly. But the mystery didn't end there, because just as the rescuers prepared to tow the ship, something strange began to happen. Smoke started rising from the lower decks. The temperature inside the ship began to rise rapidly. Sensing danger, the rescue team evacuated immediately. Moments later, a massive explosion tore through the Orang Medan. The ship sank, taking all its secrets to the bottom of the ocean. So what really happened on the SS Orang Medan? There are several theories. Poison gas theory. Some believe the ship was carrying illegal chemicals, like cyanide or nerve agents. A leak could have released toxic gas, killing everyone instantly. But why the expressions of fear? Carbon monoxide poisoning. Poisoning. Another theory suggests a gas leak from the engine room. But again, carbon monoxide doesn't cause people to freeze in terror. Supernatural theory. Some believe something not of this world was responsible. A presence, an unseen force that left no physical trace, but terrified the crew to death. Fabricated story? There are even claims that the entire incident might be a myth, since official records are limited. But if it was fake, where did the distress signal come from? To this day, the SS Orang Medan remains one of the unsolved mysteries at sea. A ship with no survivors, no clear cause of death, and a final message that still echoes through time. I die. What do you think happened on that ship? Was it science?
or something far more sinister.
If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Beneath the Dark, because some should never be forgotten.
Imagine getting lost with your whole family in a desert. Not a normal desert, but one of the hottest places on Earth. No food, no water, and no source of communication. Every direction looks the same. Every step takes you deeper into danger. This actually happened to a German tourist family in 1996 in Death Valley, California. They entered the desert and never came back alive. They simply vanished without a trace. And what followed became one of the most disturbing and mysterious search cases in modern history. A case that would take years to understand and reveal how quickly nature can turn against human survival. This is the story of the Death Valley Germans. A family of four, 34-year-old architect Egbert Rimkus, his 27-year-old girlfriend Cornelia Meyer, Egbert's 11-year-old son Georg Weber, and Cornelia's 4-year-old son Max Meyer, set out on what was meant to be the trip of a lifetime. They were tourists from Germany, traveling across America, exploring new cities, new cultures, and collecting memories along the way. The journey was filled with laughter, photos, and unforgettable moments. State after state, city after city, everything felt like a dream. After visiting multiple parts of the United States, they finally reached California. At this point, they decided to visit Death Valley National Park, a place known for its extreme beauty, but also extreme danger. One of the most hostile environments on Earth. Massive heat, endless desert, and landscapes that can easily mislead even experienced travelers. Warning signs were clearly there, advising visitors to stay on safe routes and avoid remote areas. But the family saw it differently. To them, it felt like a thrilling adventure, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So they made a decision that seemed small at the time. They took a route through a remote desert back road. And that one decision changed everything. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Tourists entered Death Valley every day, and among them was the German family, driving their green rental van deeper into the desert. Witnesses later reported seeing them buying supplies and fuel before entering the national park. They looked normal, relaxed, completely unaware of what was waiting for them ahead. Somewhere along the journey, the family left the safety of the main paved road and turned onto a remote backcountry trail, a road rarely used by tourists, a road surrounded by endless silence. At first, it probably felt exciting, an adventure far away from crowds. But Death Valley has a dangerous way of tricking people. The deeper you go, the harder it becomes to turn back. Road signs disappear, the heat becomes unbearable, and every direction starts looking exactly the same. Investigators believe the family became lost while trying to navigate the isolated desert roads. Their rented van was not built for that terrain. Sharp rocks, deep sand, and extreme heat slowly destroyed the vehicle. And somewhere out there, far from help, the family realized something terrifying. They were completely alone. No signal, no nearby travelers, no way to call for help. Just miles of burning desert in every direction. And that was the last time anyone would ever see them alive. Experts later reconstructed what likely happened. The family probably took a wrong turn onto a sandy, unmaintained road, became stuck or slowed down in deep sand, attempted to walk for help. But this was the worst possible decision. In Death Valley, walking even a few kilometers can be deadly. Heat exhaustion can set in within hours. Landmarks are deceptive. Everything looks the same. Without water, survival time drops drastically. And this is where the desert began to erase them. When the family failed to arrive at their destination, concern quickly grew. Authorities launched a massive search effort involving rangers, local law enforcement, helicopters, ground teams. But Death Valley is enormous, over 3 million acres of harsh terrain. Search teams faced extreme heat, dangerous terrain, limited visibility, vast empty spaces with no clues. At first, nothing was found. No car, no footprints, no signs of struggle. It was as if they had disappeared into the earth itself. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. There was still no sign of the family, no phone call, no footprints, nothing. Then, finally, on October 21st, 1996, nearly 3 months after they disappeared, a park ranger flying over a remote canyon spotted something unusual deep in the desert. It was the family's green rental van, abandoned, miles away from any normal tourist route. The vehicle was badly damaged. 3 tires were completely destroyed, and investigators later discovered the van had been driven for miles on bare metal rims. But the most disturbing part was this: the family was nowhere to be found. Years passed, and for a long time, the mystery of the German family remained unsolved. Many believed the desert had erased every trace of them forever. But then, everything changed. In 2009, a man exploring a remote area of Death Valley made a horrifying discovery. Scattered across the harsh desert ground were what appeared to be human remains. Realizing the seriousness of what he had found, he immediately contacted authorities. Investigators quickly arrived at the scene and launched a full investigation. As they examined the area, the truth slowly became clear. The remains were connected to the missing German family who had vanished years earlier. What shocked investigators even more was the location. The remains were discovered miles away from the family's abandoned van. But the discovery raised an even darker question. What exactly went wrong out there in the desert? Investigators later pieced together the family's final movements using the location of the van, the remains, and the dangerous terrain surrounding the area. And slowly, a tragic picture began to emerge. It appeared the family had unknowingly driven deep into isolated back roads far away from normal tourist routes. The deeper they traveled, the more difficult the terrain became. Their rented van was never designed for those harsh desert roads. Sharp rocks and extreme conditions damaged the vehicle badly. Eventually, the family became stranded, and in the brutal heat of Death Valley, every minute without help became deadly. Experts believe the family then made a desperate attempt to escape on foot, but this was one of the worst environments imaginable for survival. The summer heat was extreme, water sources were almost non-existent, and the desert itself created dangerous illusions. Mountains looked closer than they really were. Roads led nowhere. Every direction felt the same. As dehydration and exhaustion increased, their ability to think clearly would have slowly disappeared. Investigators found no evidence of foul play, no attack, no violence, only the terrifying power of nature. In the end, it wasn't a criminal or a hidden enemy that took their lives. It was the desert itself. The Death Valley Germans case is not just a mystery. It is a warning, a reminder that nature is not predictable. Maps don't always show danger, and survival depends on preparation, not luck. 4 people entered the desert with curiosity, but the desert does not care about curiosity, only survival. What do you think happened in those final hours? Could they have been saved with better preparation? Or was this outcome inevitable from the moment they turned off the main road? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more true survival mysteries like this, subscribe, because the world is full of stories that were never meant to be forgotten.
How does a 21-year-old girl end up dead and rotting in a sealed water tank. Not in a bathtub, not a lake, in a metal tank on the roof. A tank she couldn't climb, a tank she couldn't open. Locked for 3 weeks while her body decomposed.
Everyone thinks they understand the Elisa Lam case, but most videos miss the most important details. Because when you look closely at the evidence, this mystery doesn't look the same anymore. Today, we're uncovering facts and theories that are rarely discussed, and some of them are more disturbing than the elevator footage itself. But first, let us quickly look at the story for those who are hearing about it for the first time. Welcome to Beneath the Dark. Step into the world of unsolved mysteries and crime. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada. She was traveling alone across California, a solo trip. Bright, creative, and full of life, she documented everything on her Tumblr blog. On January 26, 2013, she checked into the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a hotel with one of the darkest histories in America. Serial killers had stayed here. Multiple deaths had occurred within its walls. 5 days later, she vanished. Police begin searching the hotel. Then they find it, the elevator footage, and nothing could prepare them for what they saw. Elisa is seen entering the elevator,